You can call it an auction, a share sale, foreclosure, whatever you want to call it. Understand we just call it different things in different areas, but it's all the same thing. The foreclosure itself is the actual transfer of ownership. So here's a piece of misinformation out there. See, we use the word foreclosure because it's descriptive, because it sends a very clear message. I don't know. It's one of those words where it gets attention, so we use it. But understand, the foreclosure itself is a transfer of ownership. Okay, so it's the biggest part of the process. However, it's the fastest part of the process. The foreclosure is when the gavel falls. It's when the stamps hit the document. It transfers ownership from whomever the default individual is to whomever or whatever is the new owner, whether that be a bank or an individual. Right? So, but we use that word. So everything before that point is pre-foreclosure. Okay? Everything, and so again, really quick thing right here. However, between the time frame of that property moving from step one, the moment that individual becomes default on that note, to when it forecloses on, is kind of funky, and I'll explain that to you here in just a few minutes. This is, and now the pre-foreclosure, let's back up a little bit here. Go back, how many of you have heard stories of someone living in their home? I don't know, 10 months, 12 months, 14, 16, 18, 20, 24 months, 30, 36 months, 40, 48 months, 5 years, 6, 7, maybe even as long as 10 years. Haven't made a payment, but still have not been foreclosed on. Have you ever heard this? Give me some examples on time frame. Marius says 4 years. Anybody else? What? Give me some time frames. A year, T? Okay. 2 years, Marcelo? Yeah, okay. 6 years, John, right. Okay, so how many of you are logged in right now saying, what? Wait a minute. How is that even possible? See, the thing is, some of you are answering the question before I could even get it out of my mouth. I didn't even finish the question. Some of you are going, yeah. Now, for some of you folks that are logged in, you've seen it, you know it, you friends, family member, maybe even yourself. But there are a lot of people logged in right now and saying, how is that even possible? And it doesn't even seem possible, but it's very common. What's odd here, guys, is that you haven't heard of it. That's the odd part, because it's very, very, very common. So let's back up. There's another piece of misinformation, something that I need to squash about foreclosures. Foreclosures is not a real estate strategy. It's not. Foreclosures is a legal process. Okay, so let's back up. I want to back up to, remember when I told you to listen to my language? I'm going to be very deliberate. So let's back up here at pre-foreclosure. Once a property goes default, 3 months, that file then moves from customer service to loss mitigation. Once loss mitigation gets this file, the attorney's going to run down to the county clerk and set the sale. Okay. This is the caveat I was talking about. The process is the same no matter where you're located at. It's just the time frame. And that doesn't have anything to do with your state or your province or your country. It has to do with exactly where that property is located at. Okay, so what happens is they get the loss mitigation gets this file. The attorneys run down to the county clerk to set the sale. Now, what that means is they've got to see, because it's a legal process, every foreclosure has to be reviewed by the court. It's called due process, right? That's what happens when you live in a democracy or a republic. Every one of these, the individual deserves their day in court. So what happens is that attorney runs down, they get a look at the docket. And the docket's just a fancy word for a schedule, isn't it? So they get on it, and what they do is they take the next available spot on the docket. So if the next available spot on the docket isn't for 3 years, or 32 months, or 62 months, well then so be it. That individual gets to stay in that property until their case is heard. That's how the process works. So it has nothing to do with, oh, the banks are holding things back, or the individual's filing paperwork. It doesn't matter. All that stuff, none of that matters. It's when the schedule says, okay, it's your day in court, then it's your day in court. That's it. That's just how it works. So, again, it all depends on where that property is located at. So if that property is located economy, then naturally there's going to be more job loss. No more job loss means less people making payments on their home. So of course it just trickles right through the process, and it affects everybody. You see, so and I'm just going to come throw some. It varies big time on where that property's located. I'm just going to throw some numbers out here real quick. California, 40 to 48 months. Right, that's how long it takes for the process to occur. Nevada, 20 to 28 months, roughly right in there. Florida, 6 to 10 months. Now, not everywhere is bad, right? Some places, the economies are really great, like North Dakota, South Dakota, Texas. These are oil-driven economies. Everybody's got a job, so there's very few foreclosures. So they usually take 45 to 60 days, something like that. In fact, the reason why it takes that long is because they're just filing paperwork. Otherwise, it could get done a lot faster. So, again, it all depends on where that property is located and what is happening in that economy. Now, when it goes to this foreclosure, when it goes to the sale itself, or the auction, it can end up in one of three different places. It can either be bought by mom and pop, just looking for a good deal, just regular old folks looking for a home for themselves to live in, right? Or it can be bought by an investor. That investor's either going to rent it, they're going to lease it, or they're going to flip it, right? Or it can go back to the bank in the form of an REO. Okay, so help me out. Where do you think the majority of today's properties are ending up at? What do you think? Some of you guys logged in late. We're going to do a Q&A at the end of the workshop. Okay, REO, investors, REO. It's funny how most of you aren't saying mom and pop. And you're right, by the way. It's not mom and pop. Most of them are going back, definitely, without question, going back to the bank in the form of an REO. Now, some of you might be logged in using what's an REO. It's just an acronym, real estate owned. It just means property that's owned by the bank. That's all. It went back to the bank. Now, this wasn't always the case, guys. The bank-owned property, some of you are saying, well, investors. No, not today. Most of these properties, but it's by default. Understand that. It's not because we have fewer investors in today's market. It's because we have more foreclosures in today's market. Yeah, we have a lot more foreclosures this year than we had last year than the year before. We've got a lot. In fact, we're going up roughly. Now, I know that's not what you heard on the TV. I get, they say it's getting better. It's not getting better. In 2015, we're not done with 16 yet. In 2015, there were 15 million. I'm talking about the United States right now. There were 15 million foreclosures. In 2014, there were 12 million foreclosures. In 2013, there were 9 million foreclosures. So we're going up roughly 3 million foreclosures per year. So it's just by sheer default that these properties are kicking back to the bank. There's just nowhere else for them to go. Okay, so from step number 1 to step number 3 to its final spot, to it's whether it's bought by mom, dad, or it's bought by an investor, or it kicks back to the bank, which we'll call these folks the end user, until it gets from number 1 to number 3, can be anywhere on the spectrum. Man, it can take 45, 60 days, or it can take 10 years. Now, just to be above board, okay, just to be above board, guys, I've never personally seen 10 years, but I've heard it. I've heard it from other investors that I know. They've said 10 years. I've never seen it. The most I've ever personally seen was 7 years. But even still, come on, 7 years. Hey, 3 years, right? You'd think they'd be able to get something cooking over a 2 or 3 year time frame. I would think so, but I'm not in that position, so I don't know. Fair market. So here's some information that we're going to need to know about these properties. So we're going to need to know a lot of numbers here. I'm just going to throw it up. All right. So comps. We need to know some values on these properties. What are they worth? Now, understand what the seller wants is different than what it's worth in most cases, right? In most cases, not all cases, but in most cases. Whether that property's listed by the individual that's in foreclosure, or the bank that's wanting to short sale that property, or it's listed with an REO realtor, whatever the case may be, understand that they're going to be. So we want to have we don't want to use comps or values on the properties so we can run our numbers. What we want this for, the comps on the properties, values on the properties, is to get a barometer on what they feel it's worth. Okay, so if that bank has that property, or the individual is in short sale, or they've got it listed, whatever the case may be, if that property's worth $200,000 and they've got it priced at $200,000, then what are they telling you? They're telling you they're not really motivated to sell, right? Or they're telling you that they don't care. They just don't care if it really sits there. So this gives us more of a barometer on not whether or not it's a good deal, but more of whether or not where they are in their state of mind, that individual or that entity. Understand? So we got to know. We have to have that information. We need to know what we're going to do with it. Are we going to wholesale it? Are we going to retail it? Are we going to buy and hold it? We're not always going to sell it. Are we going to buy and hold it? If we're going to hold it, are we going to rent it, or are we going to lease it? And all of that stuff, those are in what you're going to do with that property afterwards, and any cost of rehab, if there is any that needs to be done. Okay, so all of this information is very easily accessible. So I want you guys to tell me there's one source that you can go to get this information, and I'm going to give you a hint. It's not a website. It's not a website, Carl. What's Mills, Chris? Municipality tax assessors, news, courthouse. How about the REO Realtor? How about the REO Realtor? See, if a property's in short sale, if it's banks, when somebody goes default, right, and the banks go, hey, you're going to make a payment? Oh, I'm not going to be able to make my payment, Mr. and Mrs. Banker. I'm sorry. And they say, well, we need to sell this property. Here's who we want you to put it with. We need to put this thing on the market. That's an REO Realtor, right? If the property goes to foreclosure, nobody buys it, then it's going to kick back to the bank. That's going to be an REO Realtor. The REO Realtor is who we want to access. You never want to go to any other source other than the listing agency. They're going to know all the information you need to know on this property. Don't be tempted to go to websites like Zillow or RealtyTrack or Trulia or Redfin, whatever. Don't be tempted to go to those slots, because they don't know everything you need to know. See, that realtor, because they're listing, they're going to make themselves familiar with the product that they're selling, right? So they're going to know what color the carpet is. Zillow's not. They're going to know when the AC was last serviced. Zillow's not. They're going to know how old the water heater is. They're going to know all the particulars that you're going to need to know about that property. Yes, exactly, Rocky. So never ever go to any other source than the REO Realtor. They're going to give you all the information you need to know, and they're going to give you all your sales information. All right. Now we're going to get a little detailed here. So some of the things that we're going to need to know is the FMV. Write this down. FMV. That's the fair market value. Right, Nick. Fair market value. Okay, so that's the value. That's what it's worth in its current condition. Whether it needs repairs or doesn't need repairs. What it's worth in its current condition. The ARV, the after repair value. Okay, after repair value, which is what it's going to be worth after the repairs need to be done, if there are any that need to be done. Okay, after repair value. DOM is days on market. Okay, days on market. Okay, days on market. This is also another barometer to get a feeling for it, because the longer a property is listed, the longer the property is on market, the more, not in every case, but in most cases, the more that individual or entity, being a bank, is willing to, they're more motivated, the more willing they are to work on the price of it. You understand? So this is all, so that's a barometer, but these are some numbers that we need to know. Now, all of this information, again, is going to come from that REO Realtor, and it's going to come in the form of, and you guys need to ask for this, it's called a CMA. A CMA. Can anybody tell me what that is? It's an acronym. CMA. Anybody know? There it is. Well, close to it, Nick. Comparative market analysis. There it is, Xavier. Yeah, comparative market analysis. So this tells us all that we need to know about the properties, and it's more detailed than a comp. Okay, so comp's just going to tell you what a property's worth in the market, based on property sold of like kind in the immediate area over a certain amount of time. But CMA is going to tell you all kinds of stuff about that property. Because if I'm going to buy that property, I need to know that sales information. But if I want to sell that property, or if I want to wholesale that property, meaning I want to I want to slaughter that sheep, and I just want to get rid of it, I just want to flip it. That's also sales. Okay, so we need that's all going to come from that REO realtor. But like, again, guys, we may not want to sell everything. We might want to buy and hold properties. And I give you a lesson that my very first mentor taught me, and I didn't like the lesson at the time, but the older I got, the more important the lesson was. He said to me, and his name is Rodney Huffman, very first one, Rodney Huffman, he said to me, the key to real wealth is holding as much as you can as long as you can. That's the key rule out, Jason. Holding as much as you can, as long as you can. But I didn't care because I just wanted to flip. I was young, buying and holding didn't seem all that sexy to me. So I wanted to flip properties and go to Hawaii and buy a new watch and all that silly, stupid stuff, right? So we're not going to want to hold everything. We're not going to want to flip everything. We're going to want to hold some stuff. So we also need to know some rental information. Okay, so here we go. FMR. Fair market rents. Fair market rents. FML, fair market leases. Fair market leases. And the vacancy rate associated with each of those. And yes, they will be different. The vacancy rate's going to be higher on a rental than it is on a lease. The rents rents are going to be lower than what they are on a lease. Okay, now, so your leases and your rents, there's a source that you can go and access. And I'll give you a hint. It's not a website. Where would you go to get this information? What do you think? No, not the courthouse. Not quite what I'm looking. No, not the realtor's the number one answer. However, it's not what I'm looking for. There it is, Xavier. Yeah. How about a property manager, you guys? Isn't that what they do? They lease properties, screen tenants, collect rents, collect leases. Yeah, that's what they do. Never look to a realtor. That's the number one answer. But never look to a realtor for this information. But Jason, my realtor, they've got a property management division. All the more reason not to ask them, because it's a conflict of interest. We want to get real numbers, accurate numbers from someone who does it on a daily basis. Okay, so pick one out and go online and do a web search and find you 2 or 3 in your market. Yes, you just call them. They will absolutely give you that information for free. Why? They want you to place that property with them. So we want to know that because that's going to be important for our numbers. So if we buy a property that's going to cost us $1,500 a month, and the rents in the market are $1,200 a month, what shouldn't you do? You shouldn't buy that property. You understand? So we need to know exactly what the rents are on it, because it needs to be able to carry that note. That those rents need to be able to pay for that property. So that, again, this process there's really not a whole heck of a lot to the process. Where everything comes into play at here, the process itself is just logistics, really. And it's very simple to understand. The difficult part about this process is the numbers, the back liens, clouds, and encumbrances and things like that. Now, closing a deal. I want to focus on number 4 here. All right, number 4. You guys have been real good. And I wasn't going to take it to this level, but you guys kind of seem to be on the ball tonight with a lot of your answers. So let's go off script. I want to go off script here. I'm feeling, John says he can't hear me. Can the rest of you hear me? Is everybody else good? Everybody else is good. Sorry, John. Well, I guess he can't hear me say that. All right, good. So we're all good. All right, so 2 sides to everything. You guys have got to be careful, because it all goes back to what I taught you earlier, and I told you earlier, you've all had real estate investment training. And a lot of the times, I call it systemic training, osmosis training. It comes in small doses over a really long period of time. And you bring it in real slowly into your core. Slow, until it becomes your core morals, your core values, your core beliefs. And there are adages out there that lend to that, okay? So there's two sides to every deal. The acquisition and the exit. Buying and selling, or renting. Acquisition and the exit. Which side of the deal is most important? Okay, so here's where things get a little funky, right? Because you've all, tell me if you have ever heard something like this before. You make your money when you buy. You guys ever hear? You make your money when you buy. Okay. Mostly if you haven't heard that, maybe you've heard this. You gotta get a good deal. You ever hear that? You gotta get a good deal. See, mostly it's the same thing as you make your money when you buy. It's just said different, just choosing different words. It's the exact same thing. Right? Okay. Well, I'm telling you guys, some of these old adages are going to send you in the wrong direction. Two sides, acquisition and the exit. Okay, so let's, hypothetical, right? Let's say I find a property, it's worth $100,000. Got comps for $100,000, got an appraisal for $100,000, it's worth $100,000. And for whatever reason, I can buy that property for $50,000. How'd I do? How'd I do? Okay, so great, right? Did pretty good there, right, Brandon? Yeah, not too bad. Christian, awesome. Brad and Lindsay. It depends. All right, let's come back and revisit that. Okay, this is the biggest lesson, and this is going to sound hokey. It's going to sound corny. Just write it down, okay? What I'm about to show you or tell you is the key secret to real estate investment. I'm not kidding. I told you it was going to sound bad. I'm going to give you the secret to real estate investing, to successful real estate investing. And if you follow what I'm telling you to do right now, you're always going to be okay. Because I know there's a lot of fear out there. And if you do exactly what I'm going to show you, you'll be able to sleep at night. Okay? So, write this down, burn it into your brains, do whatever you need to do in order to retain this information. If you haven't been taking notes, boy, you better start taking notes now, and it's not a slide. We're pulling this out of my head right now. So pay close attention here. Write this down. You never take ownership of anything. Write it down. You never take ownership of anything. You never take ownership of anything unless it's rented, leased, or sold. Write it down. You never take ownership of anything unless it's rented, leased, or sold. Now, see, this is, yeah, right, Braden? You gotta get a good deal. Okay, so that's the scary part. And so wait a minute, that's contradictory. Well, not necessarily. It depends on what your exit strategy is. It depends on who your end user is. You never take ownership of anything unless it's rented, leased, or sold. And there's this training that you guys have got out there. It's the same training that I got. And it's the same training that you've got to be careful of. But the problem is because it's rampant and everybody's doing it, it seems logical. It seems like it makes sense. So you guys tell me if any of you have ever heard anything like this before. James, A.T., Marcelo, Brian, Warren, John, Brad, Lindsay, go buy a house. This is the first thing you're going to do, okay, ready? Todd, first thing you're going to go buy a house. Todd, I want you to take ownership of this property. I want you to take risk on this property. I want you to use your own money, your own credit. You're going to go buy a house, Todd. Now, Todd, this is the first thing that you're going to do. You're going to get in there and you're going to replace that carpet, Todd. Why? Because it's old, Todd. It's dirty. Todd, it looks like somebody spilled Kool-Aid all over it, Todd. You know, you can tell that there's been a... What's it? Todd. What's that smell? Todd, that smells like cat pee. You better get that carpet out of there, Todd. What's next, John? What are you gonna do? You're gonna paint this thing. You gotta get it painted, John. You can't have old paint on the walls with fresh carpet, right? There's dents, there's stains. What is that, dog slobber? Come on, John, get the thing painted. It's not gonna take very long, right? Warren, what's next? How about the light fixtures? Warren, you gotta get in there and replace those light fixtures. Why? Because they're old, Warren. They're dated. You know, I don't know. What is that? What is it? Spider webs and dust. Warren, you're never gonna get that stuff clean. Get it out of there. Let's get some fresh stuff in there. Brad, Lindsay, what's next? The switch plates on the wall, y'all. Come on, the switch plates. Some of them are old, some of them are missing, some of them are cracked, some of them have 20 years of paint on it, right? Here's what I think you should do, Brad, because I read it in a book, right? I read it in Real Estate book, and the Real Estate book said you should get in there and replace those because that's really going to make it pop. You know what I think we should do, Brad and Lindsay? The rocker type switches. The rocker, man, that's really going to make it pop. Brandon, I'm being facetious. Are we done yet, Brandon? Are we done? It's all looking nice and good, right? Are you done, Brandon? No, sir. Brandon, guess what, buddy? You're going to go outside. You're going to go outside, Brandon, and you better get your work gloves on, buddy, because you got to trim the trees, Brandon. You got to trim the bushes, and you got to make sure the grass is in. I'm telling you what, right now, Brandon, I don't care what your personal thoughts are on it. I don't care what your emotions are telling you on it, Brandon. You better not forget the flowers, because you've got to have curb appeal, Brandon. Without all that stuff, what's the point, right? You can do as much as you want to the inside, but if there's no curb appeal, Brandon, ain't nobody going to want to buy your house, right? And then when it's all said and done, you slam a sign out in the front yard, and you hope that you can get it rented. You hope that you can get it leased. You hope that you can get it sold. All right, guys. How many of you are aware of that training? How many of you have seen your mother, your father, your preacher, your teacher on TV, HGTV, DIY, right? All of these sources out there. I told you you've had training. You just weren't aware of it. And that's the training. Let me explain something to you about hope. Hope that you get it rented. Hope that you get at least hope and you get it sold. Hope is for suckers. Hope is for clowns. Hope is for speculators. It's the language of a speculator. It's not what investors do. Investors don't hope. We don't take ownership of anything unless we have it rented, leased, or sold. Now, when I gave you that lesson, how many of you thought to yourself, okay, sounds cool, Jason. In theory, it sounds cool. But how do you rent, lease, or sell something you don't own? Did that occur to any of you guys? Because it should have. It should have, because it's a natural progression. Yeah, Todd, it's natural progression. Yeah, okay. No, that's the seed, Brian. We think that we know. Seems to make sense. No, it's more important than building a buyer's list, Brad and Lindsay. I'll try. Everybody write this down. Burn it into your brains. Do whatever you need to do. All right? Turn your volume up. Slap yourself. I don't know. Write this down. Every time moving forward, every contract, I don't care if it's foreclosure, I don't care if it's for sale by owner, I don't care if it's property with a realtor, we always put in the contract what's called a right to show clause. Write it down. Right to show clause. It goes in every contract. Right to show clause. Write that down. Very important. Right to show clause. It's an addendum or addenda, special clause, whatever you want to call it. Now, put your pencils and pens down. Just put them down. All right? I want you to listen to me. I want you to internalize what I'm going to share with you right now. It's real simple. Right to show clause. Buyer reserves the right to show the property prior to the settlement for the purpose of either renting it or reselling it. And the seller agrees to permit access to the buyer at any time up to the date of settlement. Okay, I know some of you are wanting to write that down. Don't write it down, just listen. I want you to listen. I'm going to say it again, slower this time, so you can get your head around it. Yeah? Right to show clause. Buyer reserves the right to show the property prior to the settlement for the purpose of either renting it or reselling it. And the seller agrees to permit access access to the buyer at any time up to the date of settlement. Okay, so what have I said there? Real simple. As soon as I get that, I don't own it. As soon as I get that property under contract, I begin to market that property when? Now. I list it with a realtor. Now. I put it on Craigslist. Now. I put it on eBay. Now. I put it in a newspaper. Now. I put a sign out front yard. Now. Put bandit signs all over town. Now. If I get that property locked up 30, 60, 90 days, whatever the case may be, if I can't find someone to rent that property, lease that property, or buy that property during that time frame, should I be closing on it? Should I be closing on it? No! No! It's a terrible idea! It's a terrible idea! But that's not what your parents taught you. That's not what your parents taught you. What your parents teach you. Buy it, do the work, and hope that you can pull it off. What? Are you kidding me? Are you kidding? That doesn't work. It doesn't work. Those days, guys, they're gone. They're gone, right? They've been gone for 10 years. It's gone. And anyways, even when it was working, that was speculation. There was always someone left holding the bag. You remember that? All those people flipping houses and all of a sudden the market tanked and they all screamed victim for me. I was taken advantage of by my mortgage broker. No, you weren't. You were a moron. You didn't know what you were going to do with the property. You didn't have your end user. Oh, it's going to go up in value. I'm going to be able to flip it. Oh, okay. Good luck with that. You never take ownership of anything unless it's rented, leased, or sold. And I'm going to give you guys something else here. You won't even be able to get a property financed unless you can show the property's ability to pay its own debt. Otherwise, they have to look at who? You. They have to look at you. That's why they look at your credit. That's why they look at your debt-to-income ratio. But if you can show the property's ability to pay its own debt, it's easy then. And the only way you can do that is with a rental agreement, a lease agreement, or a purchase and sale agreement. That's it. That's it. That's it. The exit is the most important side of the deal. If I find a property that's worth $100,000, it's got an appraisal for $100,000, and I can buy it for $50,000, how'd I do? I don't know. Do you have end users is the answer. See, on the surface, it looks good. But if you can't find that end user, whomever that may be, then it'll be found for you. It's called the bank. They're going to take it back. And that's what we don't want. You guys got it? You guys getting this? That's why I wanted to go off track. You guys see? I wanted to get off track because, we can, stay in there, but stay in the confines of the PowerPoint, but I hate it. You're only hearing every other sentence. That's not good. Well, John, I would imagine that you're going to get all of it. And again, that's why we split it up. Now, see, that goes for every. Now, some of you, well, what if? How many of you were kind of wondering for a second there? Well, what if the seller doesn't allow you or doesn't want you to put the right to show clause in the contract? Did that occur to any of you? Did that occur to you? What do you think the answer would be then? What would you do? No contract! It's that easy. See, we can't take on risk. We can't do that. You see? We don't, because as soon as okay, I don't know, they don't want to do it, and it still seems like a good deal. If you don't have that right to find your end user, you just become a speculator. Now you guys see why I said this is the key to successful real estate investment? See, risk is a voluntary thing. Oh, there's always risk. No, there's not. See, see more adages out there. No risk, no reward. Really? No pain, no gain. Do you think I'm going to go out there and take on risk if I don't have to? No, absolutely not. I have kids. They depend on me. It's not enough to avoid making a bad decision. It's not enough. See, avoiding making a bad decision isn't a good decision. That's just no decision. You understand? We have to consistently make good decisions. Good decisions. We either get the right to show clause or we don't do it. Right? If they're not happy to show their house, then what do we say? No contract. Thanks for your time. That's it. Pretty simple stuff. Just get it. How many of you feeling excited? Pumped up? B? Good. Good. Well, take a deep breath. Take a deep breath, guys. Crazy, good, because you're done with tonight's lesson. Yeah, you're done. That's my lesson for you tonight. Short. We've already been going on for 45 minutes. Isn't it amazing what you can get done when you're not talking about leprechauns and unicorns? Isn't that something? When you're not talking about motivational nonsense, you can get a lot of work done. Absolutely. Yeah, that was so time frame tonight. Now, in the future, numbers, liens, clouds, encumbrances, all the back stuff, all the hidden stuff. So let's do this. Let's have a Q&A. Yeah, we're getting there, Brian. Let's have ourselves a Q&A. Now, before we do that, hold on your questions. There are rules to the Q&A, okay? So if you're typing a question right now, stop typing. Don't finish and hit enter because you're just going to run right up the chat and I won't even see it, okay? So rules to the Q&A. Everybody knows Rich Dad's a public company, but what most people don't know is we're the only publicly held real estate investment training company in the world. We're the only ones. And everywhere that we do business, Australia, Germany, the UK. So we are very, very highly regulated. Department of Justice, Securities Exchange Commission, Federal Trade Commission, blah, blah, blah. The list goes on and on and on. So there are certain questions they say I cannot answer. So here they are. Don't ask me anything about corporate structuring, business structuring, things like that. It's considered advice. Big no-no if you're not an attorney. It's 15 years in prison, right? So we're going to stay away from that one. Second one, taxes. Same reason, same outcome. An additional 15 years in prison. Third one, monetary claims. Don't ask me how many deals I've done. That's an additional 15 years in prison. And the fourth one is the stock symbol. Don't ask me about the stock symbol. Do your own homework. I'm not licensed to sell securities. If we could stay away from those things, we're all going to get along just fine. Okay? So those are the big ones. Let's stay away from that stuff. Now, I want to back up here for just a minute. John brought it up when we first got started about the always other classes. This is what we're gonna do. We're gonna do this in pieces, because if we do too much at one spot, things get weird for you. Like we don't know the difference between retailing and wholesaling, or the bits and pieces of the foreclosures. So we're going to do this very methodically, very systematically. So I'll tell you about your next class, and then we'll do the Q&A. Right? And your next class is going to be a little bit longer than, it's going to be a lot longer than tonight's workshop. Now, some of you guys are going to start whining, or some of you are going to go into panic mode. Some of you are going to get nervous. Some of you are going to be cool with this, but understand, you're going to have to put the time in. You're going to have to bleed a little bit here. Your next class, that's not true. It's not going to be 5. It's going to be between 5 and 6 hours. I know. Here's the good news. Jason, I can't do 5 hours with you barking at me. Good news, I've broken it up over 2 days. You guys think you can handle 2.5 to 3 hours at a time? Is that a little bit more manageable? Come on, guys. You're killing me. Yeah, that's a little bit more manageable. And we're going to do it just like tonight. Do it just like tonight. This is that we're we're not going to talk about mysticism and magic. Nobody has time for it. In fact, I'm going to go this far as to say this, is there are things that you don't need to know. It's going to sound strange coming from one of Robert's trainers. There are real estate strategies you don't need to know. Discount notes and mortgages. Come on, you don't need to know that. Tax liens and deeds. Forget about land development, really? Most of you aren't at that level yet. So this is exactly, not only are we not going to talk about the mysticism and magic, but we're only going to drill down on the things that you need to know. Not want to know, but you need to know. I call them the bread and butter strategies. Only the things that come across your table on a daily basis. Wholesale, lease option, more foreclosure than number side, learn how to write a contract and not crawl out of your skin, and then the big one. The big one. Big one. Bigger than all of them. Creative finance. Now there's 16 of those. Not 15, not 17, there's exactly 16 of those. And you need to know them. Because make no mistake, guys, you will not be able to get traditional lending for a real estate investment anyway. It's not happening. So you understand that an investment is considered non-conforming. You can't go to a conforming lender and hope to get conforming lending for non-conforming deal. It's not going to happen. So you have to go to other sources, and there's exactly 16 of those. If you don't, it doesn't matter what you know about wholesaling and lease option and foreclosure. If you don't know how to get the money for these things, then it's useless. It's useless. You guys get it? So that's what we're going to hit. That's exactly what we're going to hit. You also need to learn how to run numbers on your different properties, your single unit properties, your residential multi-unit properties, and your commercial properties. You need to learn how to run those numbers. Not the way your parents taught you with spreadsheets and stuff that you think that you're doing correctly. So those are the things that we're going to focus on. So it's going to take time. But again, very easily learned because it's logistics, basically, except for the number stuff, which we've got formulas for all that stuff. You're going to use formulas. You're not going to use creative thinking. You're going to use actual formulas to figure this stuff out. Now, before the class, number 2, 3, and 4, you've got work to do. Yeah, you've got work to do. You're not going to be sitting on your hiney waiting for the class to come around. You've got work to do. When you call Tammy and you enroll with Tammy, she's going to email us to you Z-Book. It's roughly 400 pages. You've got to get cracking on this stuff. Otherwise, you won't be prepared for the class. You won't. And I'll know it. I'll absolutely know it. Because I limit this class. I limit it to 50 people, no more than 50 people. So it's very personal over 2 days. You've got to do the work. Now, directly after this class, this is where, in my opinion, based on my own personal experience, whenever Rodney Huffman, you remember my first mentor? Rodney, I didn't know it at the time he was my mentor. I had no idea. I just thought he was a really cool, smart, wealthy, and successful friend. That's the only way I could explain it. But apparently he had other ideas. He felt he was mentoring me, but I just thought he was a cool cat. One day Rodney sat me down, and he was very blunt with me, and he said, this is what you're going to do, Jason. You're going to write everything down, and I want you to do exactly what I'm telling you to do. If you miss anything here, if you fail to do any one of the things, that I don't want to see you again. I was crushed for a second, But then, I pulled up my socks and went to work, and he gave me a plan. Step 1, step 2, step 3. Because if Rodney wouldn't have done that, I don't think I would have ever done anything. I think you guys need the same thing, so that's what we're going to do. Directly after this 2-day training class, we need to sit down and have a one-on-one. Absolutely. Need to have a one-on-one. There's got to be a coaching session there. There's got to be... You got to put the time in and figure out who you are, what it is you want to do, and put something in writing, right? Step 1, step 2, step 3. I think, again, based on my own personal experience, if we don't do that, I don't think a lot of you are going to do anything. I think it's paramount. So one-on-one. This thing's going to happen one-on-one. Every one of you is different. Some of you have resources, some of you don't have resources. Some of you it's going to take 3 minutes, some of you it's going to take 3 weeks. I don't know. We're just going to see how that works out, right? So that's going to happen absolutely no more than 3 days after that class. Now here's your dates for the class. November 21 and 22. November 21 and 22. This is close to Thanksgiving, right? Or Boxing Day if you're in Canada. If these dates don't work for you, Tammy has others. I don't know what they are. So shoot her an email or make a phone call to her, and she'll be able to get you squared away. Now, this is what you're going to do to enroll in the training class. You're going to call Tammy. You're going to email Tammy. Here's all of her information right here at the bottom of the screen. Pretty simple. If you email her, leave your name and phone number. She'll call you back. If you call her, you're probably going to get her voicemail. Leave your name and phone number, and she'll call you back. And for the question everybody's dying to ask, yeah, there is a cost. See, nobody ever misses that one. But here's the thing. Here's the gig. It's not $297. It's not. It's not getting, absolutely not $297. $97. It's $97. And what are you going to do? Wholesale. Lease option. The foreclosure numbers are incredible. Foreclosure. Learning how to write a contract like an investor. See, there's a lot more addendums you guys have got to get in there. See, the right to show clause is great. But we've also got to protect ourselves. See, that's finding your end user, but you've got to learn how to protect yourself too. Like sole remedy. That's another one that I recommend every one of you put in there. Sole remedy. Should buyer not perform as stated, the seller's remedy is limited to the retention of the buyer's escrow and shall not exceed beyond such point. Guys, this stuff has to roll right off your tongue. You need to be able to put this in your contracts to protect yourself. You're going to be writing your own contracts. That's what you need to learn. A lot of work. And then the big one, creative finance. So it's $97, and I'm going to give you a time frame on this. Or you can click right down there at the bottom, guys. You can do it online there, so you can roll online. I'm going to give you a time frame. 2 days. You got 2 days. 48 hours from whatever it is right now in your area. That's the cutoff time, Tammy. 2 days. So this is what you're going to do. You're going to call Tammy, you're going to email Tammy, you're going to do that now. You're going to do that now. Once you've completed that task, then you're going to come back to me and fire off those questions. Do that now. I'm going to take a sip of my water here because I'm getting a little scratchy. Let me scroll back up here too. Brian's question. Would it be good use of my current home's equity to use $40,000 start investing in real estate? Well, let me ask you this, Brian. Is it doing you any good sitting in your home? I'm going to ask you a series of questions here. Is it doing you any good sitting in your home? John says it's not. It's not, is it, Brian? Okay, so we know it's not doing any good. Can your equity disappear? Yes. So the answer is yes, Brian. Okay, so depending on what's going on in the market, right? I mean, think about it. Go back to when the market tanked. Do you remember that? There were a lot of you that are logged in right now. You had a bunch of money in your property. Oh, look at all my equity. I'm building all this equity. Yeah, I'm doing such a great job. I'm paying it down, and the market's gone up, and all of a sudden, boom, it tanks. How many of you know someone, or maybe yourself, lost all their equity? Gone. Gone. Just gone. No fault of their own. Just poof, disappeared. See, that's a funny thing. Equity equity doesn't do you any good. Doesn't do you any good. You cannot take equity down to the grocery store and buy a gallon of milk with it. I promise you, they won't take it. Try all you want, they just won't do it. See, $40,000. Think about it like this, right? How much? $40,000. How much buying power is $40,000? Anybody want to answer that? Brian, how much buying power is 40 grand? There it is. James nailed it. 400,000. 400,000. So, Brian, let me, and I know this is a long answer. Yeah, it is, absolutely. It absolutely is, Brian. So the question is, do you feel more comfortable? See, the old brain training mom and dad says is pay off your house. Get a good job, go to school, get a good job, buy a house, pay it off. Don't you do anything too risky, and you're going to be okay. You've all heard that, right? Nonsense. We've watched people's houses, the equity completely disappear, lose everything, and they're gone. Now, so I'll ask you this. You take the $40,000, you don't want to, don't touch it, because mom and dad said, don't touch it, leave it alone. By the way, that's depression era thinking. It's depression era training from their parents, from your grandparents, actually. And don't touch it. Don't do anything with it. Now, if I take that $40,000 and I buy $400,000 worth of rental properties, that $40,000 is going to cost me something every month in the form of a HELOC, home equity line of credit. Would the positive cash flow not only pay for the home equity line of credit and provide me with money and build more equity in other properties? It absolutely would. See, that's leverage. It's leveraging. See, debt is good as long as we go into debt for the right things, you see? So $40,000 puts you, and John said it, you're ahead of the game. Most people don't have that to work with. Most people have to start from scratch, like I did. You understand? See, you can say, well, they want 25%. Who's going to give me a 90% loan? See, you're thinking conforming lending for a non-conforming deal. No one, Maggie. That's the answer. That's why we have to use creative finance. And we have to look for non-conforming lending for a non-conforming deal. See, what you think you know, you've got to dump. Maggie, that seems logical to you, and it is logical to the mom and pop brain. But we need to start, everything's changing for you now, Maggie. You're an investor. An investor does things differently. Those loans are great if you're going to buy a home, a primary residence, but we're not buying homes. In fact, we're not even buying real estate. We're buying the performance. And there's only two ways that any property can perform. It can perform through a multi-positive cash flow position or an equity position. We do not buy real estate. We don't buy property. We don't buy land. We don't buy bricks. We don't buy mortar. We don't buy shingles. Now, I know that's what your parents taught you, but that is not what we buy. We buy the performance of that property. So that's what we have to examine. And because we're buying that performance and not buying real estate, we have to look at non-conforming lending. That's a huge lesson, by the way. Huge lesson is you do not buy real estate. You don't do. You absolutely don't. I know that's kind of crazy, but that's the facts of it. You don't. You buy performance. And that's what we need to look at. That's what we need to examine, because that's what the bank looks at. Do you think banks want to see pictures of the property that you're buying? No. What do they want to see? Numbers. Why? Because that's how it is. See, we've got to get on the same page here. We've got to start thinking. We got to think different. We got to think like an investor here. Now, I know all of that was a long answer to a short question, but that's the key. That's the key. The current, it ceases to exist. That's, man, Brad and Lindsay. You know what? I never thought about that. Money is currency. Currency as in current. If it sits still, it ceases to exist. Man, that is really good. I've never even considered that. I've never even thought about it that way. Right. It's not money until you use it. Huh. I like that. What is performance, Brandon? It's multi-positive cash for an equity position. And I'll tell you, and again, you got to be careful about equity, guys. Some people are like, well, I bought a property that's got a bunch of equity in it. Well, you can't use it in your numbers. And it can disappear. Maybe I'll shoot her an email. She'll get you squared away. Learning can be a smart move, right? No. Jade, learning is okay. It's action that's most important. I hear that all the time. Well, it's knowledge is power. No, it's not. Action is power. I know really, really dumb people that wake up every day and pound away at it and they're successful. I know really smart people that don't do anything and they're broke. I got a friend. He's a Rhodes Scholar. Okay? In medieval language. He's broke. Smart guy. Broke. Learned a whole lot. Broke. He would just do something, right? Action. Funny, right, John? Medieval language. Are you kidding me? Yeah, that's going to come in handy. That's what people are, though. It's nuts. I try not to make fun of him, but I just can't control myself sometimes. Brandon says, I got 20 grand in cash. Can we brainstorm? Brandon, you got to go through the channel. You got to go through the channel. You got to go follow the process. You know, we could sit down and we could brainstorm about it, but if you don't know what I'm talking about, then it doesn't matter what I'm talking about, right? Miguel, is there any other dates for this course? Yeah, Tammy's got them, Miguel. You'll have to shoot her an email or call her. Extend it to Friday and I'll sign up with Liberty Energy one more. John, I can't do it. Those are the dates, but if those dates don't work for you, John, get Tammy. She can get you squared away. Brandon gives us 20K. We'll give you 1.5. Brad and Lindsay. Now that's thinking. Can you 1031 exchange a foreclosure? Yes. Absolutely. Absolutely. Good question, Chris. You can. What's the best strategy for foreign investment? Where are you at? Where are you looking to buy? And I'll tell you if I'm qualified to answer. You're in Cuba or you want to buy in Cuba? Well, no, I know you're not. That's a stupid question. Cuba doesn't have internet. So you want to buy in Cuba. Okay. Yeah. I don't know. It's a communist country. It's a communist country. I don't know. I don't know how it's going to go. You know, people own properties, lots there, and, you know, and everything was great and good, and the government came and took everything, so. I don't know. I live in Southwest Florida, so I know a lot of Cubans that were born there, and after the stories that they've told me, I wouldn't, personally. Because you never know. I mean, you could buy there before, and they took it anyways. So I don't know. I'm not qualified to answer the question. I don't think anybody is, really. Because it's just, you know, it's been, what, 50 years? 60 years? Since anybody's been able to buy over there? So I wouldn't know, and I wouldn't imagine anybody would know. That would be a whole new adventure, right? It would be a whole new thing. Yeah, things have changed. That's what I'm saying. They've changed. So that would be just like blazing a new trail, right? That would be one of those things where you would just have to get in there and take a shot at it. You're welcome, Marcel. Say you have around 20, 30 grand. Is it better to buy something worth 50, 80, or 150, 200, meaning there's a low percentage down? See, Brandon, your brain, there went your mom and pop brain. Your mom and pop brain says cost, when what you need to think about is return, right? If I got $40,000, which means $400,000 in buying power, and I find $200,000, I can buy 2 properties. Wouldn't it make more sense for me to buy more properties providing more return? Performance, not property. You're not buying property. That's, your brain went back to that. It seemed to be logical to you, Brandon, but it wasn't. It's logical to you based on your mom and dad's training. We got to get away from that stuff. What do we mind? Performance. What's the performance? Now, if there's massive performance in the $200,000 properties, 2 of them, more than a $50,000 or $100,000 property, then absolutely. But we need to look at that performance. We've got to focus on performance. They're buying a house for sale for $72,000, located next to a huge rental property. Should I buy it? What's the rents coming in? Donna, do you have a right to show? Are you going to put a right to show clause in it? What are the rents coming in? What are the leases coming in? What's it worth? See, these are all these questions, Donnie. You have to have answers for this stuff. Okay, there's a house. It's 72,000. Should I buy it? Well, I don't know. What are the details? You see? Performance. What's the performance on it? You guys getting it? I hope you guys are taking me seriously on this class. I don't want any of you to think that you can circumvent the system. And that's why I said that, Brandon. You've got to go through the process. This is the same process that I've been through. You've got to, if you think for even a moment, well, I can go out there and I can figure this out on my own, you are done. And I'm not trying to fearmonger you. I'm just telling you the truth. You will not be able to learn the strategies of an investor from speculators. You just can't. It has to come from investors. You've got to be so you need this class. As your mentor, as your trainer, guys, I hope you realize by now I am not going to pull any punches on you. I'm going to be straightforward with you. I don't like the motivational nonsense. I don't like the hype and the platitudes. I don't like it. And I'm telling you right now, you need this class. You need this class. You have to have, if you plan on hitting this stuff and really actually doing it, you need this class. That's just all there is to it. No, Donna, CDs don't work. CDs don't work. You need to learn this stuff. You need someone holding your hand, Donna. You need someone to talk to you directly. CDs, if those things worked, they'd hand you a stack of those when you started college and say, see you at graduation. Everybody knows they don't work. They're great for a little bit. They're great for augmenting what you're learning. They're great for supplemental stuff. But no, you need somebody on top of you. All right, Brad and Lindsay. Well, she'll get back to you. Leave a name and phone number. But I'm gonna shut it down. You guys did a great job. I don't want to beat y'all up too much because you got this big class coming up. So I'm gonna turn you loose. I'll leave you with this. You guys that are attending train class, I already know who you are. I know who my movers and shakers are. Great, good. You've got a lot of work to do. Number 2, 3, and 4, get cracking on this stuff straight away. Remember what I told you? I'll know if you haven't done the work. I'll know. So get on it. It's going to take a while, so get on it right now. And for you folks that aren't attending the class, I'm not going to beat you up about it. I got nothing for you. Right? Great? Good? Off you go. Bye, y'all.